Go ahead,
I'm
Bill.
interested because are they sending everyone home? You know, what's happening on the scene? You know, the show would have been taping within the next hour, so people would be there. Yes, this is very abrupt, very abrupt.
And this is all about jawboning. It's all about public pressure. You know, actually revoking FCC licenses is extremely difficult. I wrote about this last fall when candidate Donald Trump was talking on the campaign trail about wanting to punish stations by taking away their licenses. And throughout the history of the country, ever since we've had broadcast television, license revocations are extraordinarily rare. Once you've got one, you're pretty much guaranteed to keep it. So the threat is not that the FCC is actually going to take away a license. It's about the public noise. It's about the shame and embarrassment. It's about Brendan Carr going on podcasts and embarrassing ABC. You know, there's a term for this. It's jawboning, and that's what we've seen happen today in a very real way. Trump vowed retribution on the campaign trail, and he's getting it. He's getting it against entertainers and comedians. But Aaron, for every reaction, there is a counter reaction. Stephen Colbert has already been joking about getting hired somewhere else. Those jokes mask a very real intention, right? Yeah. Where will he get picked up instead? If Kimmel parts ways with ABC, and again, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Kimmel's contract is coming due soon. Kimmel will probably end up somewhere else. And if big, old-fashioned mainstream media companies don't have the guts to employ these people, then we're going to see startups start to flourish. You know, we talk about the Substack era with people launching newsletters and live streams on YouTube. We're going to see more of that if these old-fashioned media companies can't stand a little bit of pressure from the president.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it is stunning to see such a thing happen and to show this world that we're living in. Van Jones is joining me now on the phone. So, Van, you know, all of a sudden you see this headline, Jimmy Kimmel put on hold indefinitely by ABC News after the head of the FCC goes on a far-right podcast and says we can do this the easy way or the hard way. And do you think in your mind it's possible this might not be real?
I don't know what's real or what's not real. I do know that a news organization anywhere in the world has a responsibility to stand up to government bullying, to government censorship. That is what we do. That is why we exist. Not to knuckle under, not to do what we're told, but to stand up and to say, listen, if you want to pull these licenses, then we're going to go to court. And we'll be in the court of public opinion. But you don't get to go on a podcast and set policy for American media, for an American media institution that's been around a lot longer than me, you, or Donald Trump. This is a red line that has been crossed for our industry, for the First Amendment, for the right of people to speak. There was nothing hateful about what was said, and even hateful speech is protected. This is not acceptable. If you are going to run a media organization, it's called a news organization, you have to stand up to government bullying anywhere in the world, and certainly in the United States.
Well, the job should be to speak truth to power, even when there are people who don't like the word truth anymore. All right, Van, stay with us. I want to bring in the Democratic Congressman Robert Garcia because he is the ranking member on the House Oversight Committee. And Congressman, I appreciate your time. We had planned to talk about something very different and obviously very important tonight in the Epstein files. This news, though, has just broken, and it is of utmost importance at this very moment. May I just ask you, what's your response when you hear what ABC has done after the FCC chair said we could do this the easy way or the hard way?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we are all just learning about what just happened, not having all the information, but what I'm hearing is pretty outrageous. Look, we can all, of course, agree that political violence is horrific. What happened to Charlie Kirk is horrific. But the idea that someone is going to get pulled off a news program, off a channel that's supposed to be independent, and that ABC is making this decision because of possible political pressure through the president is both stunning and outrageous. And so I think that as information comes out, we've got to understand what exactly happened, who made these decisions. And there's a lot of questions right now. I think the foundation of a democracy is also having a strong, independent news organizations and a strong, independent media. And it's a huge, important part of democracy. So I'm honestly pretty stunned. I mean, what happened with Stephen Colbert, what's happening right now with Jimmy Kimmel, this cannot be a pattern in the United States. So we've got to stand up and allow the media to be independent.
Well, it is unfortunately a pattern now. We're gonna queue up again in just a second what Brendan Carr, the FCC chair, said on that that right-wing podcast earlier today. But first, just because you made the point, Congressman, that what Jimmy Kimmel said was not celebratory or hate speech. Which it wasn't. And again, I will make the point that there are some, including people like Ted Cruz, who came out yesterday and said even that speech is protected in the United States. So I'm not trying to put up that would be some sort of an excuse. I am just pointing out that's not what he said. I want to play again for anyone just joining to understand what it was that Jimmy Kimmel said that prompted the FCC chair to say we could do this the easy or the hard way. Here's Jimmy Kimmel.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Trump.